Good morning, everybody. It's 7 a.m.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Our invocation this morning will be led by Len Thornton. Len?
Good morning, all. We are grateful to be here today to experience fellowship with people who share the passion for learning, leadership, and public speaking. It is such a privilege to be able to find the time from our busy schedules to feed our brains and our hearts, inspire us, teach us. May you reward our leaders for their preparation of this event and lead every person here that we may have fun in learning. As we enjoy our fellowship, help us to remember how fortunate we are to be able to serve our fellow Toastmasters through our great AM Lockport Toastmasters Club. And that this fellowship will remind us of our dedication, bring us together as our club leaders and members so that we may continue with these efforts. May you guide us in our service as we transition to new leadership. Keep us well during this time of pandemic crisis so we can serve. May this meeting help each person get where they want to go. And may everyone find something amazing and life-changing this morning.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the
of
United
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Len. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome, guests. I see that we have some returning guests. We have David Jones from Quinn City Toastmasters. David, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We haven't seen you in a while, but it's good to have you back.
It's early in the morning. So yes, I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you. And I see we have a other guest this morning, Julio, if I'm saying it correctly.
Yes, that is correctly.
Good morning, and
Good morning, Eric.
and how'd you find us? Julio?
I just come here because I was invited by Carlos Herrerias.
Oh, we
Welcome.
happy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any announcements this morning? All right, well, if there are any other announcements, I will turn things over to our Toastmaster of the day, Jen Zapla.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I am your Toastmaster today, and I decided to go with a much lighter theme than I did last time I was Toastmaster. So our theme today is Western New York, Wild and Wonderful, because many of us in this area, many of us are from Western New York on this Zoom call today, although we do have some guests from out of the area. Hopefully at some point, if we ever travel again, you can all come visit sometime, and I'll show you today some of the amazing things that you might see. I know this pandemic has been a very strange experience for many of us, probably unforgettable in a lot of ways and life-changing in some ways too. And many people are struggling with different aspects of it. And I think the change itself is a struggle. However, I've found some really beautiful, wonderful experiences this year, and this has reminded me to take a look in my backyard and see how beautiful it is. So I'd like to toast today to the area because Western New York is wild and wonderful. May we see the beauty that surrounds us every day. Thank you. And now we'll get started by introducing all of our job holders today, beginning with our general evaluator, Dr. Stevens.
You caught me off guard. Usually it's the last one.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. My job today as general evaluator is to evaluate my friend Jen and the evaluators to provide input so they can improve. And Toastmasters, we're going to improve on everything. That's just one aspect of it. Back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Gerald. Our next role holder will be Jackie Kenny, our word master today.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning, everyone. I like all your themes, Jen. This is a good one, too. And because wild and wonderful led me to think that maybe the word should be marvelous. So the word for today is marvelous. I'll put it in the chat, and I hope everyone gets a chance to use it. Marvelous. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Our master today is Alexis. Alexis, tell us what you will be doing.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster. I am the master, and I'll be counting pregnant pauses, ahs, ums, and the other filler words. Thank you.
Excellent. Our grammarian today is Beth Banks.
Good morning, Miss Toastmaster. I will be looking for good uses of grammar and maybe ones that we could improve upon today. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Our quote master today is Charlie Deacon.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It's titled, Practice the Pause. Pause before judging. Pause before assuming. Pause before accusing. Pause whenever you're about to react harshly, and you'll avoid doing and saying things you will regret. And it's by Lori DeShane. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Our jester today is Phil Russell.
I had to unmute. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our guests. Western New York is a marvelous place. Starting off with just Niagara Falls. The architecture is unbelievable. I love Fort Niagara. Go to the parks, especially Letchworth. You've got a great scene. Now, unfortunately, Buffalo in Western New York is the brunt of many jokes. And I have a couple. In England, they drive on the left side of the road. In Western New York, we drive on what's left of the road. How about another one? Now, our beloved Buffalo Sabres, our hockey team, to Caesar, Julio, that's our hockey team are the Buffalo Sabres. What do the Buffalo Sabres and the Titanic have in common? They both look good until they hit the ice. Whoa. And what does the Buffalo say? What does the Buffalo say to his son before he left for college? Bye, son. I'm out of here.
All right. Thank you, Phil. I am not sure if I saw our gesture master join today. Is Samir here or did I miss him? Okay, he did confirm, so perhaps we can give him another minute, and if anyone wants to consider that role in the meantime in case he does not join us. Our quiz master today is Nancy, and I do believe I saw Nancy.
You do. You don't see me. There's a black square there.
All right, I hear you.
I am here. I am here. My job today as quiz master, fellow Toastmasters, is to listen for maybe obscure things or watch for things that you may want to be attentive to. And I will ask at the end some quizzes, and there might be a prize. but might not. Who knows?
Well, I guess we will wait and find out then if there's a prize. Maybe it depends on who wins. Our timer today is Tracy.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. I'm looking forward to a marvelous meeting today. As timer, I will be timing everybody's speaking portions. Table topics 1 to 2 minutes, speakers generally 5 to 7 minutes, and evaluators 2 to 3 minutes. I'm not as fancy as Larry and Len Thornton. I have my little cell phone in front of me, but man, that's not going to help if that happens. But I'll be putting that in front of the thing. If you are speaking, please pin me so that you can see me and I don't get lost in everybody else's picture. And I will be reporting back at the end.
Thank you, Tracy. All right, it does not look like Samir has joined us. So would anyone like to volunteer to be gesture master today? No volunteers? Oh, I see Larry Eggert. Larry, tell us what you're going to do today.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I will be the gesture master today, so I'll be looking for all different kinds of gestures within these tiny little squares, whatever I can see, and I will report back at the end of the meeting, Madam Toastmaster.
Excellent. Thank you, Larry. I believe all of our other roles are here, except for we are missing our second speaker today, Ryan. I don't know if anyone has his number, Eric or someone else may be able to text him and find out if he is going to be here. He does have a little bit of time. We're not getting quite to the speaking portion of the meeting yet, but in the event that anyone knows, he did confirm and give me a title, so I think he intended to be here. Otherwise, we are ready to begin with the theme. So today I would like to show you all a few of the places that I've had the opportunity to visit this year. And I have been to some of these places before. However, many of them I've never been to. And that is exciting for me. So let me share my screen with you and show you these places. I don't know, everyone, can you guys see my screen now, hopefully? Yes, excellent.
Yes.
So here are some of the North Towns hikes that I did this year. Hopefully you can see them. And some of the South Towns hikes that I've done this year. I want to actually go back to the North Towns because this is all in the area. Many of you may have been to some of these places before: Golden Hill State Park, Buckhorn Island, Bond Lake County Park. And there are also a couple right in the Lockport area as well, which I don't have any pictures of here. However, there are some excellent, excellent places to visit and hike around and see nature and experience. And here are some of my South Towns hikes that I was able to do so far this year: 18 Mile Creek, Franklin Gulf County Park, and Rhinestein Woods. I've been participating in the Western New York Hiking Challenge. There are a total of 34 hikes on the challenge, and you have to complete 20. So I've already finished the challenge. However, I still have some of the hikes left to do. I haven't completed all 34 yet, but I would like to by the end of the year. It's been a really wonderful experience. There's a Facebook group, so if your Facebook feed is becoming overrun with things that you're sick of reading about, it really helps to join this group and see pictures of people out with their families and their dogs hiking and being in nature and getting to see how wonderful Western New York is. So those are a couple of the pictures I wanted to share with you. And I'll share some more later, but for now, I think it's time to get started with our table topics portion of the meeting. So I'm going to turn that over to our table topics master, Moklis.
Good morning. What a marvelous morning. Yesterday, today, and the week is going to be pretty nice. Sunny, Not too hot, just warm. I'm going to lead the table topics, hopefully connected closely with the theme, Western New York, wild and wonderful. I will ask some questions and select one person to answer. And as the timekeeper has already said, your timing is 1.5 minutes to complete, and then you have up to 2.5 minutes to end. And you'll get the green, yellow, and red. I'd like to start with something that we all can relate. Something we all love, cherish, desire. And it's not just about Western New York. It could be from anywhere in the world. So my first topic is going to be your favorite dessert. Just want to start with sweetness. I think Western New York has as much dessert as any part of the world. So you can choose. By the way, I'm biased to the one that shows the largest is called the tiramisu. I don't know how many of you like tiramisu? Few. Once I tasted tiramisu, I was completely sold, and I always look forward to it. So my question is, what is your favorite dessert? Why? And explain its taste. And the first person to call would be Thomas Haldwin. You don't have a role, right?
That is correct. All right. So my favorite dessert, there are several, but one of the ones that a lot of people wouldn't even consider a dessert is a Canadian dish. The Canadian dish is marvelous. It is French fries with gravy and large, very large chunks of cheese on it. And it is unbelievable. You can find it in a lot of bars, and especially in Lockport, the best location I found was a place called, it was called the Locker Room. Name may have changed. It's right behind the library and attached right to the hockey rink there. It's a little bar, and that is delicious. The name, oh my gosh, it just slipped from my mind. I will look it up in a second. And poutine, thank you. Thank you, marvelous. Poutine is one of the best, and you get to cook fries overcooked so that the gravy doesn't make them soggy. And I know that there are sweets out there that a lot of people will like a lot more than that, but poutine is a Canadian dish that in Western New York flair on it is the curly fry edition, where you get the spicy curly fries. There's one other sweet tooth that's Western New York only. It's called sponge candy. I have taken this on trips everywhere and given it to customers, and they have never seen it before. It's an Easter thing normally. It's a very bitter vinegar sponge inside with different flavors of chocolate. My personal favorite has to be the orange chocolate. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for sharing your favorite. I know, I'm sure David likes cannoli, and some of you like creme brulee, and there are hundreds and hundreds of desserts from all over the world. So my next question is going to be for, let me see. Now, something is very famous about New York wine trail. Can you hear me? You can hear me, right? Okay. The next question is going to, I think two people are quite heavily involved in this group. It's the Niagara Wine Trail. I've been fascinated about the wine trail. It's just like golf. When you go to play golf, you got to enjoy the scenery as well as you play the golf. The wineries are scattered around the region. By visiting many of them, you can really enjoy both the scenic beauty as well as, the tasty, delightful wine. So guess whom I'm going to ask this question? Margot Sue Bittner. Tell us about the Niagara Wine Trail and how would you invite our guest Julio or David to enjoy the Niagara Wine Trail?
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the marvelous wine trail, Moklis. I appreciate that. As you know, I'm sort of kind of maybe involved in it, although given what's going on, we aren't as active as we used to be. In fact, the wine trail has unfortunately had to cancel all of its events for the fall, including the absolutely wonderful Halloween event, which gets, I don't know, 3,000 people through our wineries. So we're trying something new. A group of us got together and we're trying a harvest path. So you can visit 6 wineries for the price of 5. You have the entire month of September to visit. So you can go through and visit one winery in one day, 2, 3, or if you're very adventurous and have a designated driver, do all 6 wineries in one day. But what's neat about this is the wineries who have decided to do this, to promote the wine trail, have very different wines. You've got My Fruit wines, you've got meads at Black Willow, you have traditional vinifera at Victorianburg. So we are promoting that as a different way to visit the wine trail. Instead of everybody buying a ticket and clamoring into our wineries during one weekend, come and visit us all month long. The reason I think this is going to work is because I have more visitors during the week right now than I do on the weekends. And for our guests, I own a haunted winery. So if you want to have a little bit of fun, visit my website, marginmanor.com. I don't know where my virtual background went, but that will tell you about it. So Madam Timer, I will stop now so that you can turn off that marvelous clock. And I really like how you're doing it, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, thank you. Actually, my connection to Western New York starts with the father of the founder of Gustafson Winery. Actually, Eric's father is the one who recruited me from Kodak. And that's the reason I'm in Western New York. And that's probably the reason Samir was born in Rochester, New York, also in Western New York. So deep connections. I have seen Eric as a 6-year-old boy many years ago. Anyway, so our final question would be, what are the wonderful things that I think Jan already mentioned? I want to mention 3. Of course, thunderous, beautiful, marvelous rainbows of the Niagara Falls, both at day and the fireworks at night. There's one more item kind of related to food. It's called the Buffalo Wild Wings. I think Buffalo is where the chicken wings became almost invented and spread around the world. So my next speaker can choose any of the topics regarding the famous Niagara Falls or the famous Buffalo Wild Wings. And I don't know if you know much, but I would like to invite Julio. I think he's still with us, right? If I don't see, yeah, Julio, you're there?
Yes.
Julio Caesar.
Yes, I'm here.
Did you hear my question?
regarding Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings or the
Chicken
Niagara
wings.
Falls, famous.
Well, I cannot complete a menu without some spicy food. There are many different kind of Buffalo Wild Wings, such as wing bundles, wing and tenders. Some of these are very spicy. Some of these are very tasty. But what a wonderful kind of menus we can choose. We can find many different kind of foods, many different stores that we can choose this kind of menu with different prices, from traditional wings or boneless and fries. But it's interesting to see what the color on it can be shown. But the one thing is the rememberings that you are going to see on this wing. Some night, some after movie, some appointment with a friend. That's the important thing about it, dear fellow Toastmaster.
Thank you, Julio. Appreciate, and I believe that's all time we have. And I think, Jan, I can hand it back to you.
Sure. I would like to call for a timers report. Tracy, how did our table topics participants do today?
Thank you, Jen. I'm happy to report all of our contestants were within their time limits. They all qualify as far as time goes.
Thank you, Tracy. And Jackie, how did our word of the day, marvelous, do?
Well, I heard Thomas use it 3 times and Margot use it twice. I did not hear Julio use it, but I think it's marvelous that he joined our meeting this morning. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jackie. Then I believe, I'm not sure if Julio knew our house rule here. So Julio definitely gets a pass today on the word of the day. Just for future reference, we normally make our table topics contestants use the word of the day in order to qualify for voting, but we're definitely giving you a pass today, Julio. So for future reference though, you're not getting off the hook a second time. If you join us again and you get called on for table topics, we're gonna have to hold you to it, unless someone else is Toastmaster, which they probably will be, so you're probably safe. Well, you can probably see the poll, and if everyone will go ahead and vote, if anyone hasn't voted, just to give that another moment here. And I'm also gonna share with you a little bit more wild, wonderful Western New York. So I'm gonna go back to the little presentation that I have and share that. And hopefully you guys can see this. In case you didn't have any interest in hiking, here are a couple of other photos of things that I've had an opportunity to do this summer. So there's tons of berry picking. I'm strawberry picking here with my nephew. There's also blueberry picking, peach picking, apple picking, lots of wonderful things to do in Western New York. There are tons of farms. Margot may have a farm that you've visited or a winery that you've visited. So there's lots of wineries, as Margot mentioned as well, in the area up in Western New York, right along the lake, Ontario, and also out in the Finger Lakes, which isn't too far away from us here. I actually had the opportunity to go hiking with an alpaca. I found some fun little thing and went for a walk with this alpaca, and gave me a kiss at the end because he was very sweet. Also had some time to go kayaking down by Canalside. There's water biking down at Canalside as well. There's kayaking and I think wakeboarding, or I don't know what they call it, paddleboarding, that's the one. So lots of outdoor activities that you can do. You can rent a kayak if you don't have a kayak, or rent any of these things, and just take some time out, spend some time near the water, on the water, out with family, and do some other fun activities. So I'm gonna stop sharing. And I think it's time to move on to our speaking portion of the meeting today. Our first evaluator, evaluating Cecilia, will be Kate Banks. Kate, do you want to tell us what Cecilia will be doing today?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. What a marvelous theme today. And I love your photos. Those are even more marvelous. It inspires me to get out and about. So let's get right to Cecilia, who is speaking from Pathways Dynamic Leadership. She's on the L3 elective, Inspire Your Audience. Madam Timer, it is 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Kate. Cecilia Marcy with Food Culture. Cecilia. Make sure you unmute yourself.
What happened there? Oh. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yep, you're all set.
Yes. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Fellow Toastmaster. I'm looking outside my window, and it's going to be a marvelous day. When you sit down for lunch and eat that pizza, you're not just eating that. You're not just eating just to fill your stomach or to satisfy that hunger. Eating that pizza is a big part of your identity, and to a large extent, our food defines us. On a larger scale, food is an important part of our culture. What you eat and how you do it tells us a lot about the person you are. Food sheds light on our way of life, our cultural values, and our perspective in life. Throughout history, food tells us about ourselves, our history, our ethnicity, where we came from. When you think of pizza and pasta, the first thing that comes to our mind is Italy. This may or might not be accurate, but this is what we associate Italy with. When you think of China or most Asian countries, rice is the first thing that comes to mind. And I could vouch for this assumption. We do eat a lot of rice, as much as 3 times a day. People also connect to their cultural or ethnic group through similar food patterns. Your ancestors who immigrated to this country often used food as a means of retaining their cultural identity. We read about early immigrants who brought with them, tucked away, well hidden from prying eyes in their old suitcases, saplings of fruit trees, seeds, spices, and would you believe this, even live animals such as chicken. There are also anecdotal stories about people coming from their vacation and going to great lengths to sneak back a favorite food because this food reminds them of home. I can personally relate to this story because my friend Melanie, who take a yearly vacation to the Philippines, is getting adept at doing this, what I would call dried fish escapade. What she does is she carefully wraps this smelly fish in a layers of saran wrap, place them in a bubble wrap, and then finally put them in a Ziploc bag to sell it. And the last thing he has to do is put it inside her Louis Vuitton handbag, and the custom officer never suspected a thing that there's a smelly fish in her fancy Louis Vuitton handbag. How we eat our food from the table into our mouth are just as captivating as what we consume. Our use of hands, fork, spoon, chopsticks denotes significant factors. Formalities of dining are both infused with cultural meaning and historical factors. The custom of how we eat is not fixed. It is dynamic. Tradition and norms transform throughout the ages to what we see as a customary within our culture. Eating with your hands. Some food just lend themselves to using your hands as utensil. Across many cultures, the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, eating with your hand is the preferred way. I grew up eating with my hands up until I was 9 years old. And even to this day, when a group of my friends get together and eat those smelly dried fish, most of us use our hands. I guess it's the same protocol are applied when you eat pizza or chicken wings. I know my sons and husband use their hands when they eat this food, what they call as finger food. It's certainly a bit of a challenge to eat pizza using a fork. And if you ever eaten rice using fork, you'll discover that you will end up hungry because some of the rice would end up because none of the rice would end up in your mouth. Instead, they'll end up in your plate because the fork, the way it is designed, it's just not appropriate for eating rice. Using our hands or fork are not the only means of getting our food from the table into our mouths. Most countries in Asia use chopsticks. Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Korean, and to a lesser degree, the Philippines use chopsticks for eating their food. We eat plenty of fish, and chopsticks and fish are the perfect pairing, like yin and yang. See, I have this, I don't know if you can see me. I'm using a chopsticks here. There. That's how you see it. It's actually better than a fork. Using our hands, in some culture, even the role of conversation during mealtime. Can you see me? In some culture, even the role of conversation during mealtime varies from culture to culture. Here in the US, we believe that mealtime is a good time to converse or to catch up on the lives of family and friends. Depending on the occasion, whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving, we're happy to start a conversation, reconnect with our families and friends. In Southeast Asian culture, conversation during a meal is acceptable but not encouraged, and even considered impolite if you talk at mealtime. Cultures, ethnicities, tradition, and all it entails play a big part on what we eat and how we eat our food. I challenge each and every one of you here that we should expand our taste palette, become more informed about our other cultures by trying their foods. It's important to remember that each dish has a special place in their culture to which it belongs. Food is a portal or a gateway into culture, and it should be treated as such. Thanks, everyone. The sun is shining again. I'm certain that it's going to be a marvelous day for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. If everyone wants to take a minute and just give Cecilia some comments, since we don't have envelopes to pass around anymore, make sure you're sending private messages in the chat to our speakers if you have a moment. Our second evaluator today, evaluating Ryan, will be Dave Licata. Dave, do you want to tell us what Ryan will be doing?
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our welcome guests. Ryan is just an excellent Toastmaster, and I'm proud to be his brother A.M. Lockport person because he sent it over to me, and even though I'm a geezer, I printed it out, so we're ready to go here. I'm so excited. So what he's going to do today is from Pathways. It's called Focus on the Positive. So he's going to focus on the positive. He's going to eliminate the negative, and he's not going to have any time for Mr. In Between. So the purpose of the project is for the member to practice being aware of his thoughts as well as the impact of the responses of others. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share his experience completing the project. I'll be careful to listen. I'm going to see if he's going to share just enough and not too much. And we're going to concentrate on how well focused this young man is. Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you,
Oh,
Dave.
you want a time? Oh, speech length, 2 to 3 minutes or 5 to 7. I don't know which one he chose.
He chose 5 to 7.
Okay, and you have the title, so I'll button it.
All right, thank you, Dave. Ryan Flory with Happily Ever After. Ryan.
I am actively engaging the world today. I'm not busy. I'm lucky enough to have a very comfortable king-size mattress, even if I was only able to sleep on it for 5 hours. I have a house on a freshwater creek. That's why the mosquitoes also love to live here. Yeah, I'm just kidding about that one. It's really hard to remain positive about blood-sucking insects, but it's all about how you look at life and what your outlook on a situation is. That's usually what drives your day, and that's what starts your day. Starting out optimistically, starting out positively, and starting out thinking the best of each situation can really set the tone for the rest of the day. We grow up learning about happily ever after. What is happily ever after? Is it a hut in the middle of the woods with 7 youngins running around while you're trying not to eat poisonous fruit? Is happily ever after having somebody climb up your hair and give you a tension headache just so that you can be rescued from a tower? Or is happily ever after defeating a dragon, befriending a dragon, marrying a dragon, and living out the rest of your life exactly as you want to be in the middle of a swamp? To everybody, it's a little bit different. But when it all starts with understanding the difference between can and cannot, it's a marvelous thing to be able to peel back the layers of your own internal emotions like I've done over the last roughly week. As I started on this project and I started to really think about and take notice of what I was feeling and what I was thinking, it really led each day to be a little bit different. And I'll be honest with you, it's really hard to focus on the positive when you're focused on getting things done. What you have to really do is look at each step of the day as a different moment and a different opportunity. You see, nobody likes to wake up to the alarm. I think that's a fact of life. I love watching sunrises. I love my first cup of morning coffee. But getting out of bed, that's a whole other question. So what I do is I look forward to the first step of the day. And that is a nice hot shower. It always feels good. You feel refreshed when you get out of it. You feel like you're ready for the day, and it's a little bit invigorating. But my next step is really my favorite. See, I have to wear a suit every day I go to work. It maintains a level of professionalism. It allows me to be into that corporate mindset, into that work grind mindset. And work requires it, because otherwise I'd just be in a nice shirt or polo. But that being said, what I like to do underneath that suit is live a little. This is Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda is on my backside about once a week. I wash them every 3 to 5 times, mostly. I also like to make sure that my socks have a matching color tone in them. And because life wouldn't be fun without a little bit of pizzazz, I have about 60 ties that all have a different pattern. And that's how I like to show my own personality as I go about the workday. Suits, they're comfortable. I've gotten used to them. But let's be honest, you have to live a little bit. You have to make everything yours, to look at it positively, to have an optimistic mindset from it. You also want to focus on the cans and the cannots. There's a lot of people out there that'll tell you saying that you cannot is a negative. But realistically, what I've found, there's a lot of things that I cannot do. It's a fact of life. And when you understand your own capacity, when you understand your own limits, and when you can powerfully, forcibly, politely say, this I cannot do, it frees your mind, it frees your time, and it takes a lot of the stressors that would exist. Now, I'm not saying don't push your limits. I'm not saying don't try new things, and I'm certainly not saying don't attempt to help people. But what I am saying is that we all have limits, whether that's through time, whether that's through physical ability, whether that's through mental capacity, or whether that is simply through sheer willpower. The idea is that we don't want to overburden our timelines. We don't want to make ourselves weaker in order to try to get one more thing done. We have to maintain our own batteries in order to be able to recharge others. I always want to focus on improving the lives of others around me. It's the entire reason that I feel we're on this planet. Monty Python tried to answer the question of the meaning of life, but I don't know that anybody has gotten so close as to an actual answer. But for me, it's helping everyone else. And so what I like to do is I like to focus on 3 things to become a more positive person, and I'd like to pass these lessons along to all of you. The first is reframing your own identity and how you describe yourself. Are you lazy or are you efficient? Are you a morning person or a night owl, or are you better off without an alarm clock or a rooster? The thing is that we often take a lot of stock in what others say about us, but we're usually our own biggest critic. The next piece is I want you to talk about what you've done, not what you did not, could not, or have not yet done. Look at your accomplishments, even as simple as getting out and making the bed, the pillow, going to the closet, getting your change of clothes for the day, showering, and getting them on. That's 20 minutes of physical labor that you already completed by the time you set the coffee maker to brew, unless you have an automatic coffee brewer, which I totally recommend. And finally, take some time out of your schedule and schedule it for yourself. You are no good without the full power of you, the full marvelous power of you behind you.
Thank you, Ryan. So again, make sure you're taking a minute to send Ryan some comments and feedback on his speech today. But we will go ahead and introduce our 3rd speaker and evaluator. Our 3rd speaker today will be Mark Campos, and he will be evaluated by Larry McKenzie, or Santa Claus.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. This morning, I have the distinct pleasure of evaluating one of our hardworking Toastmasters who has been working diligently under the legacy program to achieve his DTM status. Today is the final step in that chapter, and I have the pleasure of evaluating his final speech about his high performance leadership program. The title is Technician Training Program, the Summary. Please welcome Mark Campos, Technician Training Program Summary. Mark Campos, 5 to 7 minutes. Madam Toastmaster.
Well, I will turn it right over to Mark because you already gave away the title. Mark, have at it.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning. Larry, you spoiled it just a little bit for me because I wanted to lead off by saying that there was a certain irony that Jen is the Toastmaster today and that she would be introducing me as I check the final box here, because had it not been for a conversation that she and I had, I think it was some point last year, as I was serving on her high performance leadership committee, I might not have realized that I still had enough time to pull this off. So kudos to Jen. Thank you for the push, even if you might not have realized at the time you were giving me one. Of course, I'm using every last bit of runway here, fellow Toastmasters. I'm already into the extension period that TI granted us as a result of the pandemic to achieve your advanced leadership. But let's move on, shall we? It was 6 months ago today, ironically enough, that I introduced my project, which is to implement a central office technician training program. And there were certain pieces to this that were essential. It involved building up a training lab in New Paltz central office, where we had already started to build a lab for some of our technicians. And it involved developing a comprehensive training program where we not only leveraged that training lab, but also any virtual or online resources that existed. And the ultimate goal was to create a program where new technicians could enter it, and then we would count on them becoming fully qualified in a 6-month period, because we're undergoing a tremendous amount of churn in our workforce. So the first step that we took is we held a 2-day brainstorming meeting in Syracuse, where we brought in our best and brightest from everywhere within the district. And these might have been people that maybe had been instructors at a local level, teaching courses in particular topics, or they just might have been subject matter experts that were really knowledgeable on each of the disciplines that we wanted to train our techs in. I don't expect anyone to recall this, but it really falls into 4 categories: frame, power, transport, and switching. Those are the 4 disciplines and skills that our technicians need to develop. So ultimately what we wound up doing was laid out an entire program under those 4 disciplines, listed out the skill sets that needed to be mastered and what training resources were available to accomplish that. And timelines were established. So with a goal of getting someone qualified in a 6-month period, within month 1, you were expected to learn the following things, have a period of time where you worked at them and mastered them, and then moved on to the next discipline. And it was a combination, again, of things that could be accomplished virtually through online resources and things like that, or what had to be classroom instruction or hands-on instruction. So after this wonderful start, a funny thing happened. A global pandemic descended upon the earth and pretty much derailed most of our operations. Now, as it turned out, though, this was as much a blessing as it was a curse for us, because within our department, the workload dropped off fairly significantly, at least for a period of time. So that enabled us to do a few things. Number one, we were able to assign a dedicated supervisor to oversee the training lab, and work really ramped up in terms of building out everything we needed. And it goes far beyond the hardware for the technicians to work on. We also have to build all of these circuits into inventory systems, so they really get a sense of looking at a circuit diagram in the system and then being able to work on something that's live. It creates a true break-fix environment. We have them install circuits, and then we have fun breaking them and watching them try to fix it after we break them, of course, but that's also a wonderful way for our technicians to learn. Additionally, we consolidated the huge number of online resources we had. They were in the form of training videos, method and procedure documents, job aids, and put them all into one place on a group Google Drive that everyone could get to. Because ultimately the challenge is there's such a wide variety of equipment. It's difficult to train everyone in everything to the level of detail that we want. So our formal hands-on training focuses more on generalities and what they will most commonly see, but then they can go out onto the Google Drive for any specifics on how to work on a particular piece of equipment. We continued on by refining those face-to-face programs, getting those squared away. And then additionally, we also implemented some virtual training programs where in our case, we use WebEx instead of Zoom, same concept, but training classes that we could deliver to all of our technicians, one of which was making them aware of the Google Drive and how to use it, And then also a new training class covering one of our key pieces of test equipment that we use for fiber optic services, something that we don't really have to bring everyone into New Paltz for. And at least that enabled us to start to get that training out to everyone, because right now, given the climate, we're still reluctant to bring groups of people into New Paltz for formal training. Ultimately, I think we've developed a reasonably good strategy and plan, and we've been successful, and we're prepared at this point where we can bring in our new people and get them up to speed and accomplish what we're setting out to do. I think for me, some lessons learned in all this was to try to overcome some of the egos involved. When you're dealing with some of your best and brightest throughout the district, there's a lot of strong opinions in the room. There's some territorial aspect to it where people think their way is better, or they want to conduct the training in a certain geography because it's more convenient. But I think ultimately we're learning that even though the time and money is increased by sending people to a lab that isn't really convenient, especially if you're in Western New York, ultimately that it pays in the end. I'd also like to thank my high performance leadership committee, Jen, Jackie, and Larry Eggert. Thank you for your support through this project. And that does it. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. I don't know if we have a standing ovation form of hand clapping, but because this is your final speech, yes, we need to like raise our arms higher. So this is our AM Lockport standing ovation version. Congratulations on giving your final speech. Now I would like to call for a timer's report.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm happy to report all of our speakers did qualify. They were all within the 5-second range of 7 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. So you'll see a poll shortly so you can vote for best speaker today. And in the meantime, make sure you are sending comments to all three of our speakers, Cecilia, Ryan, and Mark. I'm going to share with you a couple more places in Western New York, because I know you're not sick of them yet. At least I hope you're not sick of them yet. And one of my interesting favorites was this gem, Zoar Valley. You know, we talked a little bit about Allegheny and Letchworth, and those are some very common, lovely areas to visit. But if you haven't been down to Zoar Valley, I actually grew up quite near there and almost never went as a child, because that's the thing you do when something's in your backyard, you neglect it and you forget to check it out and go visit. And these have been some of my very favorite hikes down in Zoar Valley, particularly the Valentine Flats area. It's not a very long hike, although parts of it are quite steep, so they can be a little bit more challenging depending on which section you're doing. But it's a really beautiful area. You can go down to the creek and see some beautiful views, play in the water, be out in nature. I highly recommend checking out Zoar Valley if you have not done that. And of course, for our guests, Niagara Falls. What would Buffalo and Western New York be without Niagara Falls in our backyard? So here are some of my favorite views of the falls. Early in pandemic times, I had the opportunity to visit Niagara Falls, and I felt like no one else was there, which was so fun. If you have never had the opportunity to visit without being mobbed by tons of other tourists and guests, it's really quite great when you can just enjoy a beer in a state park with your mom during the middle of the pandemic. Not that I did that. And if you don't want to visit the falls itself, Whirlpool State Park and Devil's Hole State Park are a great way to see the gorge. There's also Art Park and some other great views of Niagara Falls from different side. So I highly recommend getting out there and seeing that. I know Niagara Falls has probably picked back up a little bit, but maybe in the winter it won't be as bad again. It's actually quite lovely to visit in the winter. So get out there, see your backyard, people, appreciate it. Focus on the positive, like Ryan said in his speech, and appreciate all of those things around us, because Western New York summers are short, as you know. fall is a great time, but it's over soon. So get out there now while you still can. Now I'm going to turn it over to our evaluators. Our first evaluator today, evaluating Cecilia, will be Kate.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And thank you, Cecilia. This was fantastic. I loved your speech today, Cecilia. It's good to see you again. It's good to hear your voice. What a universal topic that you shared with us today. We all eat and you grow food. I thought we might hear more about your growing of food, but you took us on a journey around the world. And I loved how fun that was this morning because it was so universal. It pulled us in. It was very nice. I think that my main suggestion is going to be that I recommend to you and to all of us to watch the recording of your speech. Watch the recordings of the meetings in general. Can I see a show of hands? How many of any of you have watched any of our Zoom meetings or any portions of our Zoom meetings on the YouTube channel that we have? Okay, I recommend you do that, especially if you are speaking, because you'll watch yourself and be able to see what you think you should improve upon. I think I was inspired to do that even before our Zoom sessions by Moklis first, because Moklis always recorded his speeches. And I thought that was so smart. It is so smart to be able to improve ourselves. And even Mark, who just gave his last speech, will not be hopefully leaving us anytime soon, obviously. Last speech, haha. But I digress. Back to Cecilia. I think that this ties to my next suggestion about engaging your audience more, because it is so challenging on Zoom, but engage your audience more than talking to your audience. I think that that's harder, but very doable. It's about making eye contact. And so when you watch yourself, you'll see this. You'll see how the angle of reading your speech or looking at notes prevented you from making eye contact. When you watch the recording, like I said, you'll see. Another thing, I wish we could have seen your chopsticks. I just pictured them. They didn't really show up on the screen, but that's a great visual idea. And so, again, watch the recording. You'll see what I mean. I love how you gave us a call to action in your conclusion. Expand your palette. That can mean so many things, and I loved it. Thank you so much, Cecilia, and I can't wait to hear your next speech.
Thank you, Kate. Our next evaluator evaluating Brian will be Dave Licata. Dave.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster. Great to be back. Quick confession, Maid of the Mist, yes. Cave of the Winds, no. So there's plenty left for me to see as well. But I want to salute the speaker this morning for his tremendous open, and we're all here to learn. And what I learned from his opening this morning, it's not a bad idea to mention things that vex us as a means to pull the audience into a group and to get their attention. So I thought it was very clever that he mentioned the 5-hour sleep and the ever popular mosquitoes. That was a great job to round us up, corral us, and help our focus. Now, when he got to the lesson portion, he didn't let us down. He did a great job, and we learned a lot. But something that I thought he could improve on, and it's a minor thing because it's an excellent speech, but when he got to the ties, he could explain the difference between a rep tie, a regimental tie. Oh, that is a regimental tie, is a rep tie, a club tie, this tie, and that tie. He could have done that. He could even demonstrated the knot. But I thought that was an opportunity for him to talk a little bit more about how to dress for success, which is very important and part of the whole plan. And especially, he's a brother salesman, I'm a salesman, and that is no small thing, how you dress up. But he funneled us down. After he went helter-skelter and yond, he funneled us back to the lesson, which is another great lesson for us to learn from Ryan this morning. So he had an outstanding session with an outstanding lesson. And the best way, and the gem I took from his speech this morning is the best way to serve a customer is to sell them something that you both feel good about. That if the customer uses your product, no matter what it is, it's going to make his life easier. Everybody's going to be successful. And he's not just there to make a quick sale. He's there to help that customer's life improve, tie up loose ends, and just be better, to make things better. That was a tremendous finish when he mentioned that. And I enjoyed his speech so much. And I'm really glad that he's in our club because we learn from him every time he speaks. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dave. Our final evaluator today, evaluating Mark, will be Larry McKenzie. Larry.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. This morning, I had the distinct pleasure of evaluating Mark Campos. What I want everyone to do, like Kate had mentioned earlier, is to watch the video of today's speeches, and not only today's, but some of the other meetings also, because if you want to see how to present, especially in this virtual world, Mark was a perfect example of that today. His vocal was excellent. You were able to hear him. His grammar is always spot on. And his eye contact with the camera made you feel as though you were right there and part of his presentation. I've always enjoyed when Mark has presented a speech or an evaluation. He's very thorough with that. He made us feel as though we were part of the project, even though we weren't part of the committee. His facial gestures. Now, on virtual, sometimes it's very difficult to present in a manner where you're doing any type of a gesture, but he brought us right into the speech with his facial expressions when he got to different parts of explaining his project. What I enjoyed mostly was when he talked about when they would break the things and then make everyone fix it. It made me feel just like I was at home because people tend to break a lot of things here and then I have to figure out how to fix it. And usually I just buy something new because it's easier than trying to fix it. But I can understand the training program with that. Within his project, they implemented a program that was all of a sudden brought to a halt by the pandemic. What they did is they didn't let that bother them because they made it into a virtual training program using Google Drive and different tutorials to help their, I guess you would say, new trainees under this program. I do believe that Mark, along with his committee, presented a wonderful high-performance leadership program, and I was extremely pleased to have the ability to not only evaluate you this morning, Mark, but I also learned that when you're dealing with people with any type of project, egos, strong opinions, you have to take all of that into context, and then somebody has to make an ultimate decision. And it looks as though the project that you were working on was successful and that everyone in the future will benefit from that. Mark, congratulations on your last speech and towards your DTM. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Larry. I would now like to call for a timers report. Tracy, how did our evaluators do today?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm happy to report all of our evaluators did make their times.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So you'll see a poll shortly and you can vote for the best evaluator today. Now, I don't have any other beautiful pictures to share with you. I think I've shared them all, but hopefully I've also inspired you to get out and visit some of these areas. If you're not an outdoor person, Well, there's always wineries to go to, as Margot mentioned, and there are plenty of other excellent things to do, marvelous things to do in Western New York. So make sure you are enjoying your backyard, or even if it's your own backyard, there's probably something interesting there. Mine's not too interesting. It's right against the thruway, but you know, I've run around in the field a few times. You might have seen that on YouTube. if you subscribe to my channel, it's still fun. Anyway, I digress. So I will turn it over to our general evaluator today, Dr. Stevens.
Thank you so much, Jen. And thank you for this great theme today. It was definitely very interesting. You shared quite a few nice pictures with us. I enjoyed that. And I feel like a lot of our members may not have known of some of these places in our area and have not explored them as well. So you inspired us today to get out and to do more things outdoors, being that we were trapped for such a long time with COVID. I think that is a good thing to do for our souls. And in general, I could tell that you're very happy to deliver this topic because you were smiling almost the entire time. So if you watch it back on YouTube, you will see that. And that can be infectious because I've seen other members in this meeting also smiling and seeming very happy as well. Well, I think we were a little rough in the beginning. I think everybody's kind of a little sleepy in the beginning, then our words came to us and we're a little smoother in regards to our speaking. So I think that was something for the overall meeting that we started off a little bit wonky, we'll say, compared to what we normally do. But that overall, very good. Thank you so much, Jen, for this theme today. My job also is to evaluate the evaluators, so I will do that now. Kate, love the YouTube reference. Use our resources, use what we have to improve. Love that. You also were smiling the entire time doing your evaluation. So you had good eye contact with the camera. You could tell you were enjoying providing the feedback. Digressed a little bit with talking about Mark, so just kind of rein that in a little bit. So you kind of lost track a little there for improvement. Dave, evaluator number 2, shared the many positives of Ryan's speech. A little disorganized in the beginning, but great conclusion, nice and warm conclusion. So I thought that was very inspiring for him as well. Larry McKenzie, you were excited to deliver feedback from Mark. Marvelous feedback, no less. But it was all positive. I didn't hear any improvement from Mark. So that was one thing that I did pick up on. At this time, I could ask for reports if you want, Jen. I don't remember all of the participants in regards to the role players. So if you would be so kind to take that from me, that would be awesome.
Yes, I definitely will. I know it's difficult now without having the agenda in front of you. You're used to having that. And so it's a little bit, I wrote it all down as Toastmaster, but I never remembered to do that as general evaluator. So I certainly would be happy to take that role back over and call on our reports today. And I will begin with our Master, Alexis.
All right, everybody except for me did a marvelous job. I didn't hear any ums or ahs. I listened and everybody did a great job of their speaking today. But I did want to talk, since we're on the topic of Western New York, there was one retreat that is missing from us that I miss horribly, and that was the Winter Garden. That was my retreat from the winter. I used to pack a picnic and go there in the middle of winter. I could enjoy some spring around all the beautiful plants, and I miss that horribly. Also, I'm not an outdoorsy person, so I love to view the falls from the Power Vista, and it's free. But that's my report. You guys did a marvelous job. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Alexis. I have no idea what the Winter Garden is, so someone is going to have to fill me in later. Clearly, I don't know enough about Western New York. But for now, I will turn it over to our grammarian, Beth. Beth, how did we do in terms of our grammar today?
Thank you. Miss Toastmaster. I was very impressed with the grammar today. There were a lot of wonderful adjectives used throughout the different speeches. The words captivating, capacity. The speeches were really excellent today. So I was very impressed. I really didn't find grammar that was used incorrectly, possibly you with a couple of more of, but that would be it. Thank you, Miss Toastmaster.
I'm sure I had more than that, but I appreciate your generosity today. I will take it. And I will ask for Larry Eggert to give us a Gesture Masters report.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster again, fellow Toastmasters. Congratulations to Mark for his last speech. Hopefully we will continue to see him, though, at the meetings. Lot of marvelous gestures today. Tracy, she was doing the phone peeking thing. I don't know if you noticed. She was peeking on either side of her phone as she talked. I thought that was pretty interesting. Dave, I'm a certified fingerprint examiner, and you use your fingers so well, and it was so close to the camera, I can actually read your fingerprints. You are not wanted, just so you know, thank God. Thomas did a great job. He used his fingers to measure as he talked. I also like the fact he looked like Jesse James when he had his mask on, but when he took his mask off, he looked like Pancho Villa. Kind of an interesting dichotomy there. Jen, I've heard of, and this has nothing to do with gestures, by the way, I've heard of bull riding, horse jumping, dog walking, and my daughter actually swam with the dolphins in Hawaii, but I've never heard of alpaca kissing. So that must be maybe a new sport coming up soon. I may try that. Then again, maybe not. Cecilia, chopsticks as she spoke. Although it didn't come up to the camera, I could tell you were doing chopsticks by your hand gestures. Ryan, a lot of finger time. Ties, socks, and Yoda. I got a bad visual about Yoda. I'm sorry. Yeah. Show me again. Yeah. It takes a real man to do that. Oh my God. Mark, great use of hands. And as an aside to this, I looked at everybody individually, and I also did something I'm calling herd gestures. You've heard of herd immunity with the pandemic. Well, this is herd gestures, where I actually looked at the entire collage of pictures. So overall, a lot of hair adjusting going on. Everybody kind of did that. I know Marty was doing it quite a bit. Moak was smoothing out the hair. Nose rubbing. Almost everybody did at least one nose rub. I was keeping track. Head and hands. There was a lot of this. There's a lot of this. There's a lot of thinkers. You had the real thinking look. A lot of cup drinking. Beard checking for the guys. I don't know if it's funny what people do and they don't realize it when you watch. And there's a lot of this. And the breakfast thinker was probably the biggest one. There's a lot of really deep thought going on. I know Charlie's doing it right now. And just as a last thing, best dressed today was Marty. He's making us all look bad. He has a shirt and tie on, and I just have a t-shirt. So Marty, great job with that. And that's my report, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Larry. Yes, I also have a t-shirt on today. You can't see it, but it says, "Not all who wander are lost." So that was for my theme. Anyway, our quiz master today is Nancy. Nancy, we can't hear you.
Got the camera on, forgot the microphone. What a marvelous meeting. Let's see who was listening well to our wild and wonderful AM Lockport meeting this morning. Approximately how many ties did Ryan say he has?
60.
Yay. What animal did Jen get kissed by?
Alpaca. It's alpaca, but no tongue.
Oh,
Dave.
You're bad. What new wine trail event is happening in September?
The Autumn Pass Harvest Festival.
I think it was Path. Is that right?
Harvest Pass.
Okay,
Yes,
that's what I
I think that's right.
And Mooklis has a favorite dessert. What is that?
Tiramisu.
Anybody know how to spell it?
TIR something something something.
AMISU.
IT.
I was going to give extra credit. I don't know.
IRAMISU.
Yes.
Okay, if you went to the Cave of the Winds, which Toastmaster would you most likely not run into?
Dave.
And name at least one of the places that Jen has hiked out of the X number of hikes on the hiking challenge.
Fort Valley.
And how many
Rhinestone
hikes?
Woods. Rhinestone Woods.
20 hikes out of 34 so far.
Awesome. And what P word did Charlie start off the meeting with in his quote?
Pause.
Pause, yes.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Just say pterodactyl.
And which
pterodactyl P word?
which faithful guest stayed until the very end?
Julio.
And Julio, have you ever eaten chicken wings?
Yes.
Do you like them?
Yes.
You do like them?
No pressure.
Not at all, but some spicy.
Okay, and I don't have a prize, but I do have my favorite gift is my little puppy. And she says, good morning, her name is Naya. And she didn't like the meeting. She was over in the bed licking herself. So maybe we'll get her interested in Toastmasters someday.
TMI, Nancy.
She didn't say where. She was looking at her paws.
Thank you. Now, I did not forget our word master today. I think that Marvelous did quite well, but Jackie can tell us for certain.
It did do quite well. Jen used it, Phil, Tracy, Larry Eggert. Muklas used it twice and again in the chat. Kate used it twice, Ryan, Alexis used it twice, Nancy used it, and Larry McKenzie used it in the chat as marvelous. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I believe
Jen.
that.
Not to interrupt, but by the way, that is the Winter Garden.
Oh, good job, Larry.
Okay. Tell me more in post Toasties, I guess.
You got it.
All right. Well, I believe that concludes our reports. I don't think I missed anyone, so I will turn it over to our president, Eric, to conclude our meeting.
Thank you so much, Jen. What a marvelous meeting today. I'll have to really go on hiking, make sure I bring hiking boots because I am not that good with hiking, but I'll do that real soon. Before we get to our winners this morning, I would like to ask our guest, Julio, how he enjoyed the meeting. Julio.
Hi, everyone, again. That was an amazing session. I'm very happy to be here, and I want to come again if you want.
Did you say it was a marvelous meeting or just amazing meeting?
Was a marvelous meeting.
Julio, where are you from?
I'm from Mexico. I'm not from the Mexico Central City, but I'm near from the capital.
Welcome to the meeting.
Yeah, fellow Toastmasters.
Wow, it's really early for you there.
Yes, yes.
Julio, when you come to Western New York, remember Anchor Bar is for tourists. We're going to take you to Duff's and get the better wings.
Welcome and come again, Julio.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julio, for joining us this morning. All right. Let's get to our winners this morning, shall we? Our best table topic speaker this morning is our guest, Julio. Congratulations, Julio. Our best evaluator this morning is Kate Banks. Congratulations, Kate. And our best speaker this morning, congratulations to Mark Campos. Yes, yeah, congratulations, Mark. Are there any final announcements this morning? Kate?
I have just a couple. Our summer picnic in person is happening, not this Sunday, but next Sunday. We've sent emails out. It's on the Facebook event. It's like we do every year, just more outside than in the past. Some of us went outside and played yard games, but we'll be out there with the tent and have our potluck and yard games out there. Plus, our next schedule is coming up. If we were in person at Margin Manor again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hope we see you all there. I know it's a different kind of a year, but we'll do our social distancing and have a great time. In any case, whatever 2020 brings, we'll still have our picnic. And the other announcement is about the schedule. I'm the VPE, and if we were in person, I would hand out a schedule right now, and you could block out when you're out of town or certain projects you want to work on or roles you'd like. So in lieu of that, please email me if you have anything you'd like to be on for the next quarter, and I will get that going because that's mid-September. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, ma'am, VPE.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr. Immediate Past President.
Our Toastmaster for next week is Dr. Gerald Stevens.
I was about to say that.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you had that on your agenda.
But thank you for mentioning it. Dr. Stevens, do you have a theme next week?
I do not. So thank you, Larry, for mentioning that because I did not look ahead. So that was very helpful.
All right. Well, are there any final words? All right.
Gavel's out. Gavel's out.
Gavel is out. Okay, Dave. Stick around for post toasties. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the meeting this morning. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Stay well. We'll talk soon. Thank you.